So,
yeah.
So when if we talk about dating, the precursor of dating is chatting. You chat with someone, if you have a small talk conversation, then dating can happen. Otherwise, there'll be no date. तो हर एक लव स्टोरी या किसी रोमांटिक इंटरेक्शन का जो सोर्स होता है होती है चैटिंग. Now in tier 1 is in Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi. You can also include the top 10% rich people in small towns and cities, because every town in India has, a 10-15% strata of rich people, jahan pe the lifestyle is pretty liberal. For these people, you have a lot of physical as well as online infrastructure. Physical infrastructure, you have a Starbucks, you have cafe, you have pubs, you have libraries, offices, where opposite genders can interact with each other. So there is a lot of surface area for it. Now, even the culture in tier 1 cities is that you can ask even a random stranger for a date and they won't mind. They have the cultural context. Even the person who is asking them out has basic dating etiquette, that what we should do, what we shouldn't do. Now, in the online ecosystem, you have apps like Bumble, Tinder, and Hinge. So there are two big conglomerates in the world. There is Match.com. Match.com is the parent company of Tinder, but apart from Tinder, it has 15-20 other apps. In Japan, it has Meetek. In France, it has Meetek. In Japan, it has Pairs. In India, it has Hinge and Tinder, and then there is Bumble. So there is a lot of online infrastructure available as well. Now, as you go into tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 villages, right, the surface area of chatting between opposite gender keeps on reducing. So there are multiple reasons. First reason is that there is not a lot of physical infrastructure available. There is not a lot of cafe culture or a pub culture, etc. in small towns and cities. There is also not a lot of privacy there, in terms of the fact that if people meet in real life, their extended family will eventually come to know about it. The second thing is why online infrastructure is not being used, like online dating apps. The big difference there is they are face first dating app. You have to put your picture there. And in India, in tier 2, tier 3, which we can call next billion users of the internet, which came in post 2016, the women are not comfortable putting their real picture on a dating app. And the main reason for that is social stigma. What if parents come to know about it? What if parents, friends come to know about it, right? There is a lot of pain associated with putting a picture on dating app. Let's suppose they've even put a picture on a dating app. They've met someone. Where will they meet in real life? Where there's no privacy. Like today, even if I go on a date in Kota, eventually my parents will come to know about. Right. So I've seen this kind of. So my parents are okay, but I've seen with my relatives, etc. The surroundings have not been so liberal. So basically, this problem is not just India-centric problem. This is a problem of Pakistan. This is a problem of Bangladesh. This is a problem of entire Middle East. It is a problem of North Africa, countries like Libya, Egypt. In Southeast Asia, you have Indonesia, Malaysia. There's also the same problem exist. So the big question is that if you live in Mumbai, Melbourne, New York, life is very sorted for you. Right? You are the first digital native. There is a lot of avenues available to date. The culture is very liberal. So life is amazing. You are either a Bumble user or a Tinder user or a Hinge user. Now, for the next billion user segment, which we just talked about, who is reimagining this dating ecosystem? For people who don't want to put pictures on a dating app, they want to have interaction with the opposite gender, but they want to do it in a way that their privacy is ensured, their parents don't come to know, the cultural standards are appropriate. That requires a team to reimagine dating for them from scratch. Probably it will be audio first, probably it will not have real pictures at all, probably it will be more like conversations rather than dating, because dating and marriage, though still in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, is a very far away thing. The majority of this user base which we are catering to hasn't even had a conversation with the opposite gender. before, they get to the concept of that, okay, now you have to marry and then you have to talk to a lot of people. So broadly, this is the big problem statement. Now, what we are doing, we started with Friend. In Friend, you have a matchmaker. This matchmaker is a power user of Friend community. This matchmaker breaks ice between two strangers over a blind date. And if they like each other, they can, do a one-on-one interaction post that. Now, as we are progressing, we are localizing it across India. Eventually, we will localize it across international geographies. We will launch other apps as well. So all in all, we will have 8 to 10 apps catering from casual romance, serious romance, to matrimony, and also entertainment like games as well as live streaming. So that is the whole thought process right now. And yep, broadly that's it. If you have anything which piqued your interest, I will expand upon it more.
Okay, so that's very interesting. मुझे बात सुन के याद आया कि लॉन्ग टाइम बैक देयर यूज्ड टू बी ऑरकुट बहुत पहले है ना, इवन
Right.
बिफोर द
Orkut, Rediff chat rooms, Yahoo chat rooms. Yeah, so
हाँ,
a lot of inspiration has been taken from there. That those were the internet ecosystems where a lot of mingling used to happen. Now, if you look at it from like a pure product or a startup point of view, how will that look like? That is what we are building now.
so हमारे टाइम में तो when we were bachelor and I was I happened to be in the Bangalore only during my
Okay.
bachelor days. So as you said, the Bangalore culture is there are certain cities which are very liberal. So it was very easy that you go on a Brigade Road or MG Road, and you like a girl, you approach her and talk to her, and take out for a drink, and then drop her back home. They were very comfortable. But
Right.
obviously, yes, even in that time, those times, I'm talking about, I think, 99. And at that time also, the Bangalore was very liberal in that sense. But yes, coming back to Kota or other cities, it's a different proposition.
Right.
So that and that was the only reason why our generation went to the internet. Orkut eventually it died down, but yes, that reminded me. So and how do we start on a friend? How do a person who is looking for a date starts on a your app? What does he have to do?
So there is a concept called pseudo anonymity, which Reddit makes a good use of. That you have an online persona, you can attribute what kind of a person this is, but probably you can't attribute what this person is in real life. So basically, you have an avatar, and with that avatar, you have a pseudonym. You fill your basic stuff. We have few algorithms which work on the basis of picked data. So, for example, age is an important attribute. One important insight which we make use of is that a Telugu user will feel very comfortable in chatting with another Telugu user. So that becomes part of the matching algorithm. Like if someone lives in Kota, rather than matching them with someone who's living in Jodhpur, probably make them match with someone around Kota, because even if they, at a broad level, everyone speaks Rajasthani, but Rajasthani also has different variants for it. So if you also bring geographical localization into it, it will be a better match because even the dialect will match. So mostly it is the base funda is about how you can match two people for a good conversation, right? So this is the initial profile building phase where a person gives attributes. We pick few attributes automatically. Then there are algorithms who match two people. There are different formats which a person can choose from. If a person is not super confident, they want a mediator. So think of it this way, that a lot of times dating in college happens via common friends. That there's a common friend who there's a common friend who basically introduces a boy and a girl. So that is like a flagship concept, that you have different games. You have a game like a Raja Rani Chor Police. You have game like friend dating, which you can play. So basically, there'll be a matchmaker which is called friend RJ who will mediate date between two strangers, a blind date. So this is one format. There's one format where you can, if you're confident enough, you can directly approach people who are online and basically have a conversation with them. Then there's a recent thing which we launched that we also have coaches now, dating coaches, who teach you how you can, have a better conversation. So people have a lot of questions like, what should I say at the start? What is okay to say, not okay to say? How can I develop my personality? So we have hired coaches, and it's a premium feature which people can access these coaches to ask questions, whatever they have in their friend journey, dating life, after they've gotten into a relationship, also if they're facing anything. So these are the 3 4 formats which we have. We've recently launched a content sharing thing as well in the app. So that's broadly the infrastructure. So think of it this way, that this is like a fair or a Disneyland kind of a thing where there are different formats. The basic premise of each format is that you can either play a game with a girl in a group setting if you're comfortable. If someone is comfortable in a one-on-one setting because they have had those 5 10 minutes of group interaction with someone else in the room as well, then that's good to go. If you want to own your dating skills over time, you also have facility for that. So basically, it's a world in its own. And in this, there is a layer of monetization which comes in, which is through virtual gifting. So in real world, you either buy someone a drink, or you buy someone a bouquet. So there are different objects which you can send to someone, like a yellow rose or a diamond ring, or you buy coins in the app and you can spend these coins. Just similar, very similar to a video game kind of a setting. So that's broad concept between mingling with someone in a group setting, then taking one-on-one. If you really like each other, then probably meet in real life. Very few people meet in real life. That's not our objective. Our objective is, there's an online safe space where people can have interaction and they don't have to worry about whether they'll find someone who is not nice, so on and so forth. And the whole concept is around friend. So the name friend, why we kept it, so no one in India in the mass market writes friend as proper friend. They write FRND. That is basically what they use. And it makes the premise easier, that okay, it's an app to do friendship. Whatever happens after that, it's an easier landing space for people, because dating etc is very advanced concept still for the masses. So that's why the name friend, it's a place to mingle with people and then see where it goes, that sort of a thing.
So it's a pure audio conversation only.
Yeah, so it's audio majority. For power users, you also can unlock video, etc. But audio is the place where everyone is super comfortable. If people want a closer connection, then they can, also opt for video. But video is only present in one-on-one setting. It's not present in group setting.
I'm really excited. Let me also install it, and I don't know. Is there any age group restriction also?
Yeah, I mean, there are algorithms, but for you, we can make an exception. You let me.
No, no. But this, like, I would like how it responds, and how does it work? That's really interesting study. So yeah, how much time you spend on this particular concept and app? You passed out in, I think, 2018 only.
So I I'll also share my story here. So I worked for 1 year at Deutsche Bank, and
Okay.
I was working in Mumbai, Hong Kong.
Hmm.
After one and a half year, I realized that if I want to do something of my own, then I have to basically cut this cord. Otherwise, you become too comfortable. Then your aim becomes to go and do an Ivy League MBA, and you hardly get time to think about other things, because IB is a very intense, like 18 hours work day, no weekends off. So that's fun, but then if you have to do a startup, you need to basically carve out time for it. So I took 1 year of a gap, full gap. I just did 3 things. I traveled across India.
Okay.
The main premise of me traveling was I wanted to always do something entrepreneurial. So I have lived on farms to understand agriculture as well. I've come to Bangalore to understand what people are doing, so on and so forth. So that I read a lot of books, and I did small projects there in my gap year. So we used to make we used to make an app for a particular problem statement, see how it is functioning, what's the user response, then move on to something else. So in this 1 year, I found my co-founders, and so my co-founders were Hardik and Harsh. So Hardik and I first met at Resonance. We were
Okay.
in. together in 9th class. So I know him from 2008-9. And then he went to Bansal. I stayed at Resonance. Then we again met at IIT Kanpur. We were in the same wing. So we used to live right across my.
So we have
Uh,
two alumnus of PCCP division in front app.
so Hardik is a whiz kid. So he's the CTO. And then my third co-founder, Harsh was my roommate. He also studied at Resonance, but in the JE days. So he was an RJ1 there. So Harsh and I know each other from 2012. So we three know each other from IIT Kanpur, and we have lived together almost like 10 years now. We used to live in the hostel. We were flatmates in Mumbai. We have flatmates in Bangalore as well. So we felt that we are a very good team with complementary skill sets. Harsh can design the products very well. I can take care of distribution and fundraise, and Hardik can code. And we felt that we should put our minds to something where this skill set of ours actually makes us an amazing team. So, for example, for a lending, we felt we have never done lending. We were like 24 years old at that point in time, so we shouldn't do lending because a person who is more experienced in risk analysis, risk underwriting will do it much better. So we pick up social, that in social we will do something, and we started the problem statement which we had seen around us, that dating is broken. So at that point in time, Tinder had just come to India. We were like the first users of Tinder, and like it was a very interesting concept when we encountered it in college, that okay, through internet you can actually date someone. And we realized that all of us come from small towns. So Hardik and I are from Kota. Harsh, my third co-founder, is from Abu Road, which is again like a very small town in Rajasthan. So we had this context that okay, this thing is broken. We have seen this happening around us. So everyone talks to the opposite gender when at the time of marriage. Before that, nothing actually happens, like a dating sort of a thing. And we realized that eventually, 10 years, 20 years later, internet will solve dating for everyone. And then there was a huge influx of users post Geo. Post Geo has been a different world altogether. So we started with a broad problem statement that how can we create an online space similar to what an Orkut, etc. was, but customized to problems of an Indian user, and we can make people interact. And when we launched it, it was very different app. It was text chat only. There was no audio, nothing. And we started getting few users who used the app like crazy. Like they were spending almost 1 hour, 2 hours on the app. There were people who used to have conversation for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months on the trot. And then we started following whatever this user taught us. So the basic premise of creating a business.
What is user trotters? I didn't understand that.
So basically, how do you what essentially works really well as a startup? So startup is two things. One is there is a product. If the product works really well, you will eventually have a business around it. So whatever features you are building in the product, right? If they are coming from your users, right?
Okay.
It will, majority of the time your bets will be correct. So once you have identified, so when we launched the first version of the app, within 2 months we could see that there is a need for it, because there are some people who are actually making good use of it. It has become part of their lives. They are actually able to find someone to talk to for a longer periods of time. And then we started following this user. Following this user, in a sense, we used to chat with them. What do you need more? What do you like? We started doing a lot of experiment. Once we got this user base, we started doing a lot of experimentation. So our strength as a team, when I talked about that the three founders had complementary skill set, we could code any feature in 7 to 10 days and release it in the app and see what's the result coming in. And till date, this is like the primary strength we have as a team, that if today we have a new concept in our mind, eventually in 2 weeks we'll launch it. We'll see what's the traction. If the traction is there, if users actually find it meaningful, we'll scale it up. Otherwise we'll move on to the next experiment. Because when you are creating anything, this is also true for life, but this is very true for a business. Iterations, how quickly can you iterate? Essentially it is a concept of getting 100 slaps. If you can get those 100 slaps very quickly, you will be a much wiser person. The longer you delay it, you will run out of capital, you will run out of resources, and you won't have a business. So that is how the journey has been. We started following our users. The users taught us that, okay, this is what they like. Eventually, like, this led to the birth of audio, that Indian user feels more comfortable in talking. So if you want to, impress someone, talking is much easier as compared to text. There are multiple macro reasons for it. Macro reason is that if you look at our user behavior, when we used to type in around 2000s, it is very different from how we do typing now. Now our typing is much more nuanced. So this user has just got internet in 2016, 2017. It's been only 3, 4 years. So their typing is not that advanced. And in India, people love to express themselves over audio. And you can have more data points to convey. You can convey tone, you can convey, a talent, you can say a shairi. A spoken shairi has a much more impact as compared to a written shairi. So nuances like this, which come under the heading of subject called user experience. So UI, UX, user interface, these are like design concepts, but these become super important for the kind of business we are in. So once that started happening, we discovered that audio is something which is useful. Then as we encountered a lot more users, especially women, because women dictate a lot of how a dating app should be run, should be made, we introduced the concept of a matchmaker or a friend RJ. These were like the power users from our community who could basically mediate dates and ensure that the girl feels safe, ensure that these two shy strangers on the platform, they have something to talk about. So a very interesting game between two strangers can be two truths and a lie. It gets the conversation going, right? So these simple games we introduced, matchmaker used to, do all of this, moderate the date and ensure that the experience is amazing. So this again insight came from users. Then gifting insight came again from users. Then few users started saying that now we are comfortable, we don't want the matchmaker to be in the room. So we said that, okay, you have the option that once you are comfortable, you can.
It's a matchmaker, is somebody who's virtually present in the meeting.
Yeah.
So you have how big is your team?
So this is not in our team. Like my team, which runs Friend, is 18 people only. So these people who are matchmakers, these are, think of it like Reddit or group admins on WhatsApp or Facebook. So Friend community also has a lot of power users, like the top 5% of the users who eventually become admins and start moderating these dates on the platform. And they become micro influencers. Everyone is basically like, think of it in this way, that there are people who are very connected in college. So people approach them, can you, connect me to that girl, or can you connect me to that guy? That sort of a thing in the ecosystem.
You have built that kind of a network or a social network where the people take pride in becoming the power users of Friend.
Right. And eventually then they become matchmakers. So this is how dating and marriages in India happen. There's always that one person in the family who is very enthused about, making people meet and do matchmaking. So
there's always one mama or chacha who is a culprit behind all these marriages.
Exactly. So we knew this happens automatically in India, and people are very comfortable in this. So that's a lot of that happens in these Bollywood movies as well. So point is that this is happening already. We just made an online version of it so that people feel more comfortable. They have context of what to do, what not to do. Yep. So that is how the matchmaker came into me.
So after passing out from IIT Kanpur, 1.5 year with the Deutsche Bank and 1 year with exploring.
Yes. Gap year.
And then 2 years, I think 2 years with a friend. Like, how many years?
So 2019, around May, June, we launched the first version of it. And so it's been almost like 3 years now. Yep.
And do you have a revenue model with the friends?
Yeah. So we sell a lot of coins using which people can buy virtual gifts. People can do virtual gifting. They can send a car to someone, they can send a dairy milk to someone virtually. So that is basically the revenue model. We are exploring more revenue models, but the good thing is that willingness to pay for virtual goods in India is increasing. This revolution happened in China 10, 15 years earlier, in gaming, in dating, even in payments app. And this thing is coming to India as well now, virtual gifting. So microtransactions is also one of the key things to understand here. UPI has made possible for a person to come to any app and spend 20 rupees or 25 rupees, which was previously not possible. A lot of online payments 5 years earlier used to be only through credit card or debit card or in internet banking. But with UPI, anyone now can today spend 20, 25 rupees. So microtransaction has actually fueled a lot of virtual gifting, because people need not spend 500 rupees for a subscription anymore. What you can do is, today you want to use the app, just spend 30 rupees to gift something to someone, or 50 rupees